My weakness was never drugs or alcohol. I dabbled in it, but my weakness was always acceptance. Most of the areas that I battled in came out of my need for acceptance. The different areas of my life led back to this. You will realize when you do something like this that attacks will come. The last couple of days, my water froze. Literally, I've had everything else piling on. Literally, like she said, I think 3 times I've been switched about when I was going to do the testimony. So literally, getting to this, I know it's a God because everything's came against it. Now getting into it, as a young kid, I was brought up in a town called Mexico, New York, out in the snow belt way up in New York. As you probably can tell by my northern accent, I mean, I don't have the twang. I don't say y'all all the time. My mother and my real blood father broke up due to his drug and alcohol problems and him being abusive to my mother. Honestly, I don't remember a lot because it was when I was really young about this, but when I was so young, because of that, my parents, my grandmother, my grandfather, my mom, and my stepdad ended up giving me anything that I wanted. Like, I got spoiled, and this is going to lead to later in the story on it. Like, for example, again, my stepdad came to my father, has become like my real father over the last 20-something years. I got ahead of myself a little. Again, through all this, they spoiled the heck out of me as I was young, which led to problems when I was older. I'm freezing. And when I was young, I had every He-Man, every video game system, LBG train, 2 trips to Disney, and I think that was before I was like 7. This formed a mentality in me that I will get what I want when I want it, and it was owed to me. I didn't have to earn it. I wasn't taking responsibility for my own actions. It was always someone else's fault. I was innocent. I always had an excuse when something went wrong. It never was my fault. One of the big excuses I used was attention deficit disorder. I recall my 4th grade teacher telling me that I was never going to graduate because I couldn't pay attention and wouldn't listen to this. This led to me having a feeling of entitlement. I hid behind the feelings of self-doubt. It kind of created a wall with me. I think we all have these hiding mechanisms. That was mine. I wanted to be accepted so much that I lost track of who I was. In school, I got picked on continuously, but then I figured out ways that I could hide the self-doubt, and one of them was being on a football team or team around people where I felt like they had my back. The doubt was still there. It was just in a box with a little cover on it. So I got up to my teen years. So at 13 years old, I moved to a new town, sophomore in high school, brand new school. My first day of practice for football, I get out and my bike, because I bike to practice, I get right off it, goes right into the creek. Way to start at a new school. But again, trying to keep an image of, I'm on a team, this and that. But in the back, inside, I was hurting. Now, at that point, my now best friend from New York, Josh, invited me to church 35 times at that point. Literally, I remember going to church on my birthday of the year just to shut him up because after the 35 times, I was just like, I'll go just so he stops asking me, not knowing that it would be a life-changing experience. And like I said, I grew up around God and godly people, but didn't know Jesus like I should have. I made my own Jesus that went by my own rules. a microwave Jesus, you could say, that I could throw in when I needed him. Kind of like wanting blessings, but not knowing the blesser. 1 Corinthians 1:27. But God has chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. And God has chosen the weak things of this world to confound the things that he might put shame to the things that are strong. I think I copied that wrong. So I didn't see myself as anything. I saw myself as one of them foolish things, not knowing God's thoughts. I had no confidence in who I was, but knew how to hide it well. I knew the right thing to say and how to say it, but still inside I was hurting. I wanted the acceptance so bad that over the next 20 years in my life, I searched for ways to feel acceptance. My first was church. I wanted to be accepted by people so bad I would do whatever I needed to do to get on their good side. I grew up in the church from that point. If the doors were open, I was there. Sunday morning service, Sunday night service, Saturday night service, Wednesday night service, getting up to pray before school at 7 a.m. at the church. I did all the nice, like, religious things and all the things, but again, I don't feel like I had that relationship that I should have. In hindsight, I believe I was doing this to be accepted and to be known. I did all the right things. I knew the right Christianese things to say. I knew the Bible at this point, but didn't know Jesus. The appeal of being popular, of being noticed, was driving me, and this would haunt me for years. I had weekend visitation relationship with God. I spent time with him only when I needed him. I wasn't as close to God as I should have been. I knew all the right things to say to people. I got hooked on the need to get whatever I wanted, whether it was popularity, money. I would say or do whatever I needed to do to get it. I would hurt people to benefit myself and to protect my shield and to not be hurt. Even in the church, you can feel alone among the crowd of people. Growing up, I had learned how to protect myself from people. People couldn't see the in me. I put on the church mask. I knew the right Christian words to say, but inside I was hurting. I knew about him, but I didn't know him. Then God showed up in my life. The next big search for acceptance was with the bar and nightclub scene. Around 2011, one of my best friends and his wife broke up. I ended up going out with him and drinking with him. I could easily stop drinking and smoking. I'm not saying everyone can. I, again, struggled with wanting acceptance. I love being the popular guy. I ended up drinking for popularity, then become a bouncer and was the popular person in the popular place. And it wasn't because of me, it was because I was a bouncer. I don't know how to word other than that. I would still attend Sunday morning church services, sometimes on 2 hours of sleep. Again, trying to be popular any way I could. 1 John 2:15, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone's in the world, the love of God is not in them. Again, I was so searching for the popularity for all this other things. I wasn't searching for him. This is when God started to get a hold of me. I remember a night, 3:30 a.m., waking up totally drunk out of my mind. I heard the voice of God say, you know what you're called to. I then started to question God. I asked him, God, did you miss a memo? I'm drunk. I was trying to convince God I wasn't redeemable, but I knew that wasn't true. God had been preparing me for this time for years. At that point, God got me out of the atmosphere that I was in. For the first time, I was now searching for God, what God could do for me, not who. I was now searching for what God could do for me, but who he was. I wanted to know him. Again, I wasn't perfect, but I was now hungry for him. I wanted to know him and become close to him. My strive for acceptance rose up in another way in my relationships. So zoom to 2019. I had pretty much been going strongly after God for 6 years. The snake of acceptance head came up again. I wanted to be accepted. So bad, I quickly got married in 6 months. I should have took the memo that when the world was shutting down, I should have took the memo that I was hurrying that process, but the COVID years. And give me 1 second. There we go. I was trying to hurry what wasn't God's will. I should have took the memo. I already said that. I got ahead of myself. She was a good person, but we were unequally yoked. You can meet someone at church and not be at the same page spiritually. For 4 years, anything biblical was pushed out of me. Like a python, when they attack, it doesn't sit there and say, I'm going to eat you. The python method is just to tighten up around you. Every time you breathe, it takes your breath out of you. During that time, as I tried going after God, my walk felt like it was subjected to a python taking my breath away. My lowest point was when I put everything into this marriage and it failed, and I felt like I failed God by getting a divorce. So after this, I became broken. I do believe sometimes God breaks us to make us. He has to take out the garbage we have in there to make room for him. Little by little, he took the hidden walls of wanting to be accepted away from me. He had let me get to my lowest point for me to see how much I needed him, and I couldn't live without him. So, this is where we get to celebrate recovery. Or this is where celebrate recovery came into the picture. I was broken and feeling like I let God down by getting the divorce. I couldn't worship in the church I was attending because it was too hard to focus, because that's where me and my ex had went to church. One of my coworkers, Mariah, is like, hey, you should go to CR. It's not only about drugs and alcohol. I went to celebrate recovery with the thought, I can hide and worship. My thought was, I just really don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to worship God. It wasn't about me anymore. I wanted to know him. Even though I look back, hiding and worshiping in the front usually doesn't work that well. What has the program done to help me grow? The Celebrate Recovery program has gotten me more focused on spending time with God and more focused on God's opinion of me. This program has taught me how to disciple myself and to look at the big picture instead of the small picture. In the process of this step study, it helped me to lose the layers of the onion I had worn for years. I will just tell you, if you go into the step study and truly give your all, you will grow. The step study opens you up to the hidden ideas that led to some of the bigger problems in my life. 2 Corinthians 1:5. For just as we share abundantly in our sufferings of Christ, so also our comfort abounds in Christ. So like we say on Chip Night, keep coming back. I've watched how growing through the service, our principles and steps has installed him back in me little by little. And it's changed my selfish ambitions to godly ambitions. He used a step study to form me into an unselfish person. Little by little, God has removed the layers of the hardness from my heart. I thank God for talking to Jerry and for him asking me to be on a part of the leadership team. Then being blessed next November by being asked to be over the youth department here at Cornerstone. Celebrate Recovery has helped me in a time I thought I was alone to be interconnected, and I was pushed to succeed. Step 10 really hits me in the feels when it says we continue to take personal inventory, and when we are wrong, personally admit it. And that kind of combines with me where it says 1 Corinthians 10:2 says, if you are there then standing firm, be careful that you don't fail. I've been given a new level of trust in people and helped to get out of the protective box that I was trapped in. What can I say to the newcomer? I will tell you that the storms will come, but through the storms, growth comes. Through the hardest times, the flower blooms. My relationship with Christ was a key to my recovery. My relationship also led me to my calling, knowing we all have areas where we need to be refined. Maybe not all the same areas. And I'm going to be real with you. Refining isn't always easy. It's just one step away. Just give it to him. And on this, Kayla, get up here. The altars will be open. If any of you need prayer, our leadership team will be up here.